Hi, this is Steve Owens with Entertainment World, and today we have James Maslow on the phone with us. James, welcome.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
So you've got your very first above-title film, I see, 48 Hours to Live. You're the dancer turned undercover dude, and then you sack the mob boss's daughter. Pretty intense little role right there.
It is. It's actually, as you're saying it out loud, I'm realizing it's pretty difficult to explain just what the movie's about and how it involves dance and has a super dark throw line throughout it, pardon me. But it was a very intense role. It's one of the first and still to this day most intense roles I've played, but I'm so excited for that exact reason because I want to continue to do more and more film like this.
So what was the process in you getting cast for it? Was it a direct offer, or did you have to audition since there's dancing in it?
Yeah, well, to be honest, this was a straight audition. I went into a casting like anybody else, put it on tape with the casting director, and months later, the director, Benny Boom, saw the tape and called up my team and said, yo, I want to talk with James. I was filming another movie in Vancouver called Seeds of Yesterday at the time, and he calls me up and goes, yo, the role's yours if you want it, but I want to ugly you up, I want to buzz your hair off. And, we just got in this really cool conversation where he was able to see past some of the younger Nickelodeon-type stuff that I'd done based on that audition and go, yo, I know you can do this. Let's show the world. And it was a really, the whole film was so collaborative in that regard. But, of all the offers that I've gotten, was getting and it's starting to change, they weren't exactly the roles that I wanted to take. And so this is starting to, I think, set a better tone for what I want to keep doing.
Yeah. So, you had Big Time Rush, a nice run on that.
Yeah.
And you became this pop idol, the teen magazines and all those kind of things slamming your face everywhere.
It was nuts. It was in many ways stereotypical in the regard that we go and play arenas somewhere and there would just be thousands of kids and girls just camped out and screaming, and all that stuff was true and it was fun. But I guess for me, I always looked at that as a stepping stone in all the most positive of ways to build a fan base to do what I am just about to do this year between film and releasing music. So it was amazing, but it was a job. While most kids were in college, that was my college experience. I was filming TV shows and touring the world. But in many ways, getting the education that I wanted and needed to kind of do it as an individual now.
So did you have any songs that you placed in the 48 Hours to Live?
Yeah, I actually ended up writing the title song. It's not going to be on my album. It's not the type of music that I'm trying to put out necessarily as a solo artist. It was one of those things where Benny was like, yo, we want a kind of Kavinsky-esque track, similar to the vibe they had in Drive. And he's like, dude, can you go just take a shot at it, write something? So I submitted, once again, like everyone else, and they loved it. And we ended up filming a little music video, which plays, the titles play over at the end of the film. So just kind of another rad opportunity to merge both worlds that I love, music and film.
Did you have to spend any time with choreography class or dance classes here in LA before shooting the movie?
Two things were kind of nice. I had recently done Dancing with the Stars, so even though they're quite different types of dance, still was hours and hours under my belt, which actually ended up paying off a little bit. And then the second thing is Bo Casper Smart not only has a role in the film, but he helps choreograph the whole thing. And he became a homie, so he really helped me out, him and his team. And we spent a lot of time working on, tutting and learning new moves and a lot of the hip-hop stuff. So it wasn't so much in class as much as I was just being yelled at by Bo.
Since you were the big shot in the movie, who was your favorite cast member to work with?
Man, it's hard to pick one, but, between Tommy Flanagan, Amelia Rivera, and D. Ray Davis, I've watched all three of those guys in film and TV since I was little. So to have them supporting me in a role to this day is still surreal. And was able to really have some great scenes and some great off-camera conversations with all three of them. So that was pretty damn cool.
The film is being released actually in the theaters, but you can also pre-order it right now for video on demand.
Yep.
So that's very cool, and it's playing at the ArcLight. As far as you and the acting, the dancing, and the movies, which is your favorite out of all of them?
In all due respect, and I think I've actually learned so much respect for dancers over the years. That's never been my forefront what I want to do. Actual dancers do it all day, every day, and damn near kill themselves to do it, and I have so much respect for them. I love doing it once in a while, but film and music has always been my focus. And, look, I've always said I'm going to keep doing both, and this year is kind of a prime example. I've got several films coming out, that are, even though I might have written a couple songs for him or synced a couple songs for him, it really is just about the acting. And then I finally have an album coming out and start touring as an individual as well. So I want to keep both those worlds going, and this year is going to just be the start.
Great. So are you going to go out for pilot season, or are you strictly going to focus on the music and movies this year?
If I say no to that, I'm going to get a call from my acting manager going, what the, well, on radio, so I'm not going to swear. But look, the nice thing about quote-unquote pilot season is that it doesn't really exist in the same manner which it used to. I mean, you've got digital networks now, cable. I mean, none of it really relies on this little window. So I kind of keep reminding myself about that because I'm going to be on tour, throughout March, which is generally and traditionally a big time. But look, if there's a good role, I'll put myself on tape, and if somebody wants me for something, when I fly back, I'll be in the room. And guess what? If it doesn't work out because I'm working on something else, on music, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
So I just can't stress about it,
Always the demand goes up for you once they turn down because you're working. So it's a great position to be put in.
Best reason in the world to turn down a job because you're on another one.
Exactly. So tell me about what's happening with the music-wise.
So this week, I mean, literally just a couple of days ago, I think I threw up on Instagram or something saying I finished my album. As you know, as a musician, by finished my album, I mean all the vocals and stems are in one place. But now I have to finish mixing, mastering, sequencing, leveling, and all of that jazz. But that'll actually be done in its entirety, album art and everything, by the end of this week. So I have to submit it for the label. And, man, it's kind of surreal. It's exciting. I've been working on it for so long. It's finally there. And we're going to start releasing singles, starting this month. Although not to piss off any American fans, we're starting internationally. So I think it's only going to be available everywhere outside of the U.S. and Canada at first. Talk to my management, talk to my label, don't yell at me. All I can promise is it will come to the States, and I will be playing here eventually. I just have to start somewhere, and that's one of my first tours in Europe.
No, actually, it's a very smart move from the music standpoint today with the cost of record promotions in a pop format. You're looking over $100,000, where you can start and make a chart name in the UK for a lot less money.
Sure.
So that's a smart move on your part, your team's part as well.
I mean, to be real, most people look at like Spotify and the playlists over there first. A lot of music comes out of Europe, Australia, wherever it might be coming from. That's kind of what deems it cool. So if I go over there and fans feel the same way, then labels look at that here and go, oh, let's put more money behind it. So to the fans, as you're saying, it's actually a better look because hopefully by the time I come here, it's just even more exposure and more music for them.
Exactly. So tell me about the tracks on the album and how to come about.
I've been writing my own music for years and years, but it was about 6 months ago I ended up meeting my main writing and producing partner, this kid, Doug Makuta. And we wrote at this place in Brooklyn, and in 2 days busted out 4 songs. And it usually doesn't go like that. And 2 of those are actually ended up on the album. The one and the first song I'm releasing is called Cry. And that just kind of set the tone, both in terms of what I was willing to talk about personally, because it's a very personal record, to sonically the type of vibe that we found, and that just resonated with me. I went, yo, let's do more of this. And then the next several months we're just writing with him, a couple other people as well, producing, just going back and forth, and did 30 songs, 10 or so which are going to end up on my album.
So what's the sound current theme of it? Is it pop? Is it EDM?
It's definitely still pop, but it's far more soulful. There are some tracks that lean far more electronic than anything that I did with Big Time Rush. Big Time Rush I always kind of considered more pop rock. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a hell of a lot of fun, but that's not what my voice has ever been really geared towards doing the best or the most easily. Mm-hmm. So singing, 20 songs a night with VTR stuff was like, it's a lot of work. I was always singing the higher parts for people, and it was fun, but it strained my voice. Whereas hopefully, and we'll see, but doing these songs, they really fit in my pocket. I mean, I'm writing and singing what I do best. So that's exciting to me because it's going to be, it's going to be a sound that people haven't really heard, even if they've heard me sing before.
Where'd you record the album at?
Kind of all over. I mean, some of it was done in Brooklyn with Doug. Some of it was done in Jersey at my uncle's house. I did some at my house here in Venice. And then because Doug signed to Timbo, we were lucky to do a lot of the big stuff in the real production at Timbaland's studio in Virginia Beach, which is why I was just there. So it's funny. We've gone from like tiny little apartments where we have vocals that are still on the album to a $30 million studio where vocals on the album. It kind of goes to show you it kind of doesn't matter what you have or how much money you have or where you're at. It's nice to be in a big fancy studio, but it's almost unnecessary these days. If the vibe is there, the feel is there, you can record that on a $300 mic and still get quality out of it.
So in your recording, did you use Pro Tools, Cubase, or Logic?
Pro Tools for sure. Sometimes I'll produce out of Logic, but for this album, I actually had to learn how to engineer and produce a hell of a lot more, which was a huge change when I was doing before, when I would just let producers kind of do their thing. It would never sound the way that I wanted it to sound. So with Doug, it was very much him and I going in and sitting there and recording live sounds, finding sounds, and actually producing the album side by side, which is why I'm every snare, every snap, every beat in this album, I know why it's there, where it's at, and it's how I want it to be. It's how I like it.
Great. Can't wait to hear the album. Well, I want to wish you the best of luck out on the road this year. I know it's going to be a fun-filled year for you. Take lots of photos so people can see you on social
Oh,
media.
yeah.
And what is your social media so they can see those photos?
Just at James Maslow, pretty much across the board. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. My Snapchat is real James Maslow because I think somebody jacked my name, but for the most part, it's pretty easy to find.